What's up, everybody? Live from Schaumburg, NARBC show, July 2024. That's Brett Towers from Jersey Guys Balls. Good to see you again, man.
You too, man.
One of the cool things about these shows is that we do get to catch up with, friends, acquaintances, colleagues. But you were on the show before,
right?
But I don't think we met in person when you did the show.
No, so we hadn't met in person. I believe the first time we met in person, it had to be Tinley.
It had to be Tinley.
Yeah.
No, it was Tinley. We didn't meet in Daytona where there was that was a bit of a headache. We don't even have to revisit that.
Yeah.
But I don't think we met there.
It was when you were in the lobby. I think I was on my way to the bathroom. You were on the way. I was like, I know that guy.
Yeah. But it's cool. These shows are great that way because like in this day and age of the internet and podcasts and all that, like we all get to know, or even Instagram, we get to know each other. We don't really know each other, and then we get to meet in person
like
as well.
I've been on a bunch of podcasts, like Mike Herb Collectors and everything. Yeah. I never met him in person either.
Right, yeah.
It's like I feel like I know him, but to be honest, I don't really know him.
No.
But yeah, it's always great to come out to the shows, and we don't really get to hang out as like a community very often.
Right.
Like you went to Warfels.
Yeah.
Like there's not many of them throughout the year. So when you come out to the shows and you're just hanging out in the lobby and doing this sort of thing, it's a great chance to really just talk to people and get to know them a little bit better.
It is. These 2-day shows are great, too, for that, because that's the one thing I missed from the Florida circuit. They were all 2-day shows. Right. Here in the Midwest, most of them are 1-day shows.
That's how it is with us, too.
Well, and those have value because I don't have to get a hotel. I could get back to home.
Yeah. Yep. You leave that morning, you're back that night.
Yeah, but every now and again, you miss the hangout.
It's almost a mini vacation with friends that you don't really get to see often. Like we see each other 5 times a year, 6 times a year tops.
Yeah.
But it's great. Like Saturday nights are great. People are just hanging out in the hotel lobby and I went out with Bob last night to Dave and Buster's and just played pool, and it was a good time. That's how you really get to know who people are outside of the reptile community.
I felt bad. You and your dad got back last night, and I was like...
We didn't get back till like 11 o'clock.
I saw your dad come up the escalator as I was heading out. And he was like, oh, you hanging out? I was like, no, I'm not. I'm done. I am out.
Honestly, we got back to the hotel, and probably 20 minutes later, we were all gone.
Yeah, my travel schedule's a little bit screwed up because I came in on Saturday. So I'd been up since 3 in the morning yesterday driving in.
Yeah,
so
that's tough.
But yeah, we're all like zombies because we're working hard. Yeah. We go hard after hours.
Working hard, having fun.
Yeah.
And then just trying to have a good time while we're doing it.
That's right. That's right. So what's your logistics like getting out here? How long does it take you to get here? What do you do with your animals, that stuff?
This and Tinley are actually one of the closer shows for us. This show is probably 13 hours. Tinley's pretty similar as well.
Yeah.
We did St. Louis last year. That was 15 hours. We might do it again this year. Then like Daytona was 15 hours. Right. Dallas is 23 hours.
Jeez, yeah,
it's tough. But I mean, it's completely worth it. Like the 13 hours, it's not bad. We left on Thursday night and just drove like 6 hours, got a room, drove the next 6 hours Friday morning. Could be much. Like Dallas is tough.
Are you stopping on the way home, or are you guys just deadheaded together?
We'll probably get straight through.
Okay, got it.
And to be honest, driving through the night kind of sucks at that 2 a.m. mark.
Right.
But there is no traffic.
Yeah.
Only people driving next to you are the trucks.
Right.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
So I really don't mind it as long as one of us gets a little bit of sleep before they have to.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to duo tag team it. I'm always running solo, where it's like.
Yeah.
And I do have to watch in the wintertime, which is different for me too from Florida. The wintertime temperatures I have to watch. Like in Florida, if I get tired, just stop at a truck stop. The snakes are fine, I'm fine, but I can't do that here, so I really have to watch it here.
Yeah, and that's something I've actually been thinking about a little bit more. Like we use the ARS display cases, and we just throw the snakes in there, and that's how we bring them in the car. But I've been starting to think about, like, in the middle of the summer, like, if we break down on the side of the road, like, the animals could struggle.
Right.
So I'm starting to think about what precautions I should be taking, like having a huge shipping box from Redline, just a couple of the cooler packs in there, just in case. We don't need to use it, but just in case something did happen.
Just need to bring them down. That's a good thought, actually, on that, especially this summer's heat.
Yeah.
Man, it's been...
Yeah, and I know Troy drives out to the Pomona show, and he drives through, like, 100-degree weather. Like, if he breaks down, what are you going to do? There's nothing...
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. I do think a lot about... My wife's from Minnesota, so like everybody in Minnesota has these like breakdown kits in case you do get stuck on the side of the road kind of thing. And I have the plug-in stuff for my truck. If, I can plug in the heat if I need to. But again, it's got to be running. So good thoughts for before that. It is something you should think
There's
of.
not many summer shows to worry about. Like, and most of the shows are in the spring and the fall where it's like perfect weather. Like, if you broke down, it'd be all right. But still, I mean, you don't want your quality animals to be suffering.
No, you don't want your animals to suffer. You don't want to risk losing everything that you worked for and all that. So, well, speaking of the animals, real quick, before we wrap up here, what are some of the cool projects you're working on? What do you have at the show?
So lots.
I'm kind of teeing one up just from the local or the recent events, but you got some cool stuff over there.
I'm sure everybody's seen it, but we have a sunset clown here, and honestly, it's brought a lot of attention to our table. Yeah. That's one of the things I like to do for the shows. It's like, even if it's not for sale, just bring one of the cooler snakes
out,
just so for people who haven't seen one, they can see it and be like, they can actually see the beauty of a sunset clown.
Get inspired by it. Does it make sense to work towards?
And there's not many people that have them, so there's not many to see. Most people haven't seen one unless you see it at the show. But yeah, super cool stuff coming this year. We should have a bunch of Monsoon Het Sunset, Sunset Het Monsoon stuff. All sorts of DG hypo clowns, hopefully. Yeah. It's up to the females. Can't force a female to go.
No.
But you can pray for them to go.
Yeah, that's true. You can set some mood for them. When, from a scheduling standpoint, how many 2024 percentage hatchlings do you have here?
Yeah. So
have you had any yet?
Yeah. So far. We're looking between 50 and 60 clutches this year.
Yeah.
So far, we've had 5 hatch out. Sure. I think we have 4 at the show. The 5th one hasn't had a meal yet.
Wasn't ready yet,
Yeah. So as a percentage, it's like 10%.
Yeah.
But a lot to come. I feel like the majority of the industry is a little bit later this year.
It feels like it. Yeah, mine, I've only, out of 30 clutches, I've only had 3 hatched so far. So it's all like a back-end thing. It was kind of funny, just to get really, really nerdy for a minute. I was working on my projections with my tax guy. And he's like, oh, well, it's really nice at the halfway point of the year. You've done this. We can project that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand,
that's
man.
last year.
I'm going to do better. And he's like, how confident in that are you? I'm like, pretty confident. He's like, why don't we meet in the middle for projections?
It is interesting. Yeah. That's one of the interesting parts about this industry. It's hard to project because even if you think a female's going to lay, even if she's ovulating, who's to say it's going to be eggs, not slugs, or how many
deformities? Nature happens.
That's what the green tree python guys say. It's like, don't count your eggs before they're laid. Don't count your hatchlings before they hatch.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm starting to have that mindset because there's a bunch of clutches I was super excited for this year, and the females didn't go, or they laid slugs, and I'm like, or I had like 1 egg, which could be a Partho clutch. It's like, it's a learning curve.
It is a learning curve. Yeah. Well, and speaking of learning curves, like, I got to bring him on the show sometime. My tax guy is like, every conversation he's like, this is a weird business you have.
It'd be like, you should do it with Joe. Have them
too. Joe and the tax guy.
And Joe is a tax guy. That would be even funnier.
Yeah, I got to dive into that with him a little bit too. So.
But honestly, I think a show with a tax guy could actually be super beneficial.
I've told, and he doesn't really like the camera very much. He has done some stuff with my Patreon group before, but I've told him I think a specialist in this industry, I think the lane would be wide open for him. I'm not sure. It depends on the state and whatever. Yeah.
But I think there's a large portion of this industry where they feel like they're just getting in and they have no idea.
No idea, and they're winging it.
Yeah, and there's so many benefits to having a business.
Yeah, and I never had my own business. Yeah. I mean, I had rental properties and I was a musician, so I mean, I sort of did, but I didn't have the full, like, inventory, expenses, in and out, and this volume, I'm lucky to say, but this volume of money either. And the benefits that, if just to get on a soapbox for a minute, if people aren't running it like a business, the value of those early investments really gets lost because you can depreciate things over a longer period of time and really benefit yourself into the future from saving up front.
Exactly. And even if it's just a hobby, like, you can just invest a certain amount of money in the beginning. And
you can be a sole proprietor. You don't have to start any business. Just track your expenses, take them to a tax person.
And if you're not paying attention, and you're not writing this down because you don't think of it as a business. You don't know until you know. And you can easily forget about this stuff. Yeah. Like, there's been multiple times where we bought racks off Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's the end of the year, and my dad's like, "Did we claim that?" I'm like, "No, I don't think we did." But that's
even just
events a $2,000 write-off.
Yeah, or even just events like last night.
Yeah.
Oh, I bought some dinner. I brought a round of drinks.
Yep.
You can track all that stuff, but if you don't keep track of it,
no, it's out the window.
There's a couple $100 gone where you're like,
it could be right now.
Where did it all go? Yeah. So
100%.
Well, Brett, where can people see you next? What's the next show on the road for you?
Yeah, so we have a busy fall.
Good.
We're going to Daytona again this year. Have everything right this time.
Okay.
We'll be in Troy show, Bob show in September. And then
Charlotte show, not the Denver one?
Charlotte,
yep.
Denver's
That's
just out
much,
of that
right?
range.
Yeah.
I think it's like 24 hours for us.
Yeah.
Charlotte's, I think, like 12.
Yeah.
All the shows are like 12 hours for us. And then we'll be at the Tinley in October. And we're considering St. Louis in November. And we have a couple local shows. Like we have Gettysburg next week. It's just a one-day show.
Yeah.
Quick hit.
But that's a good local show, right?
Yeah. I think it's the best local show out on the East Coast. There's not many of them, but I think it's one of the better. Ozzy sponsors it. It's a good time.
Pennsylvania's got some cool stuff going on with the shows circuit. It's kind of become like a little bit of a hotbed on the East Coast, right?
Yeah. I wish NARBC or Bob would come up and do a huge one out there.
Do a Philly one, blow it up. That would be.
Or somewhere like Allentown, right near New York, where the hotspot of people are.
Right.
Maybe in the future, maybe we'll try to cook something up
someday. Maybe we're right here solving the world's problems.
Maybe. Yeah. But we're super excited. Make sure you guys come out to the shows, support whoever you're following, or invest in some new animals.
Definitely.
But yeah.
All right, and Morph Market, Instagram, all the usual suspects, right?
Jersey Guys balls everywhere. We have a website. You can check it out. If you go on it and hit available snakes, it's going to take you to Morph Market anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. Brett, thanks for being on. Always good to see you. Always good to hang out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
It's a pleasure.
All right, my best to you and your dad. Be safe on the road, all right?
I appreciate it. Thank you.